Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, November 4th. I'm Jimmy Prince with the details. Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves says his government is behind with 2 sets of financial resources, including monies owed for lands sold on Canaan. Dr. Gonsalves said there is an outstanding amount of $9.25 million for the Canaan lands owed to government, and that because of a dispute between the developers on matters unrelated to the lands, the payment has been held up.
I've been seeking to negotiate is to sell the debt of 9.25 million US from 1 or 2 persons. Whoever first bring the money for me, I sell them the debt. In other words, they will then have a portion of those lands to the tune of 9.25. And 2 persons associated with Canaan are prepared to purchase that portion of the debt. And when I went to Cuba, I spoke to President Maduro and also to the President of Alba, Bernardo Alvarez, to tell him that the other $5 million which should have been given, which have been sent to us already, it has been late. Well, shortly after I came back from Cuba, they sent me a formal request to send in the formal application again, because although I've negotiated the money, I've received monies from that $40 million already, I have to send a specific request. Well, not me really. I've instructed the Director General, and he told me that some member of his staff has already done that. So I expect anytime soon, Rudy, for that $5 million US to come in from the Alba Bank.
He noted that as soon as he finalizes this matter, the public will be informed.
If they have an argument and they're holding me up, I have to try other ways to get that money. If they have a difference, not so much an argument, a business difference on some matters. So that when I went to Parliament and said there's this $80 million and this is the way I seek to get it, it doesn't mean that when I go for the 80, I would get all the 80 one time. That's not how it goes. And I'm explaining to you some difficulties have arisen, for instance, in the Canaan situation, which was not foreseeable.
160 heads of cattle and 100 pigs are to be exported to Grenada tomorrow as part of the Ministry of Agriculture's Agri-Export Strategy Initiative. The shipment will bring in some 450,000 EC dollars. Earlier today, Minister of Agriculture Saboto Caesar made a visit to the port to ensure things were in place for the shipment in the morning. SVG exported its first batch of cattle to Grenada in 2012 and since then has made 2 other shipments. Last week, Minister Caesar says that this country is looking to broaden its trade horizon by also exporting cattle to St. Lucia as early as January 2015. He added that the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is expected to sign a memorandum of understanding with the government of Grenada before the end of the year to formalize the trade in cattle and other agricultural commodities. Well, Vincentians are being advised to be more careful in the way they interact daily as it relates to hygiene. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Simon Kiza Beach says one thing that health workers can learn from the concerns of Ebola is that they need to be more careful in the way they operate on a day-to-day basis, adding that this applies to the public as well. She said persons should learn to follow basic infection control procedures and ensure they are always informed.
Ebola is transmitted, yes, by the exchange of bodily fluids. It's a virus. But right now we're in the flu season. So the flu, and not Ebola, I'm not sure, I probably shouldn't. The flu is transmitted when we break down in terms of our infection control, general hygiene practices. Not washing hands, not covering your nose when you cough, not cleaning areas properly. And what we're going to stress, what we're stressing in this whole Ebola thing, even though we can't compare the flu with Ebola in terms of severity and morbidity, is the need for us to be a lot more aware of how we function and how we behave.
Meanwhile, a two-day workshop designed to further enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of staff of the Insect Vector Control Unit will be held here later this week. The workshop will be hosted by the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment in collaboration with the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO. The objective of the two-day workshop are to train the staff at the Insect Vector Control Unit on calibration methods employed in chemical depression during fogging, to discuss the structure and the functions of a fogging machine, and to discuss the importance of personal protective equipment. The workshop will be held at the HIV/AIDS STI Prevention and the Control Building at Old Montrose from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. Men need to step up and take responsibility for their role as leaders in society. That's according to Pastor Colin Smith, who was at the time addressing a rural men's conference held at his church, the Christian Life Ministries, on Saturday. Pastor Smith said that men are slacking off while women assume leadership roles, and it is time that they pull themselves up and be counted.
Question, brothers, if us so-called Christian men do not intercede for our culture, if we do not intercede for this nation which God has placed us into, if we do not intercede for our families and our communities, if we do not intercede for Caliacqua and Bel Air and Fountain and Arnottsville, if we do not intercede for this place, who will? Our Christianity and the practice of Christianity for us has to be more than dressing up with a nice tie and a nicely pressed shirt to show up in church on Sunday morning and shaking our car keys on the way in. Our Christianity will have to do a lot more than that in these last days. If we do not intercede, who will? If you do not intercede for your own wife and your own children, then who is supposed to? If you do not intercede for that whole school that your daughter attends, then how is she going to combat the influence of evil in that institution?
30 of the 33 killings which occurred here for the year thus far have been classified as homicides, with 9 arrests made. In an interview with SVG-TV News on Monday, Station Sergeant Trevor Bailey of the Major Crimes Unit said of the remaining 3 other cases, 1 has been classified as manslaughter, 1 caused by fire, while an inquest has been ordered into the other. Speaking specifically of the 30 murders, Bailey says, while the police have only been able to make 9 arrests, they are at the moment awaiting forensic results for 11 of the homicides. The station sergeant says the police are hoping that the forensic results will return in their favor, which will lead to more arrests.
Well, the numbers may sound far-fetched in regards to arrests compared to offences. I want the citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to be at ease, and they can rest assured that the police are not sleeping, but the work is being done. You know, a modern investigation is not one of an indecent language, where you make use of an indecent language this morning and you're arrested this afternoon. You know, the state machinery must be allowed to function and function to the fullest. We are working diligently in solving these matters, and we want to take our time and ensure that the investigation is done and is done properly. So I want the citizens to feel at ease. Not because you hear that there's only been 9 arrests. The police is not asleep. The work is being done, and it's been done in a very efficient and effective manner.
Bailey says the police are committed to solving all 30 murders.
You will notice that quite recently we made an arrest for a murder that was committed since 2005. So they are never closed. The investigation is always ongoing into these matters. So as we have seen, or we believe that in at least 20 of the 30 murders, we can have positive results. It's not to say that the other 10 is being pushed aside. The investigation is very much ongoing in all of these matters.
Of the total number of homicides recorded in 2014, 23 were as a result of gunshots, 3 blunt trauma, 2 by cutlass, 1 by misadventure, and the other by fire. Meanwhile, Station Sergeant Bailey is urging members of the public with information that can help solve some of these murders to come forward and share the information with the police.
I still want to urge civils and Grenadians that, you know, we have quite a lot of murders that are outstanding, and any members of the public who have any information with regards to any of these incidents, to feel free to come forward with the information. You know, this office, the Major Crime Unit office, we treat information with seriousness and strict confidentiality. The information provided is between you and us as the police officers, and we will treat it with the courtesy and decency in which it ought to be treated.
Still in more police news, while some persons are of the view that the murder of Paul Spence of Barley was an act of retaliation, police say the investigation into his killing will be treated as any other. Last November, Spence was freed on a double murder charge for causing the death of an elderly woman and her daughter almost a decade ago. Station Sergeant Trevor Bailey of the Major Crimes Unit told SVG-TV News that no leads have been obtained and no arrest has been made into Spence's killing, which occurred over the weekend. However, Bailey made it clear that the police do not choose sides when it comes to investigations and that they are simply committed to solving all crimes committed here.
Regardless to what lifestyle an individual may have, the fact remains that he was a human being, and no other person has the right to take his life. So that is how some members of the society may feel. But with regards to the police, we investigate his death, or we will investigate his death in the manner in which we will investigate any other report. Now, we have no evidence to suggest that it was a revenge crime. We don't know. The investigation is still in its infancy stage, so we have nothing to suggest that. But suffice to say, to his family and to the rest of Siemens and Grenades, that irrespective of the lifestyle of an individual, once a report crosses our desk, we'll investigate it as if it's any other person.
Meanwhile, Chief Prosecutor Adolphus Delplesh issued a strong objection to bail for Giovanni Samuel of Montgrinon. Samuel is facing 3 separate charges of attempted murder and unlawful and malicious wounding. He's accused of inflicting several cutlass wounds to the bodies of Makila Jackson and Irma Jackson, both of Montgrinon, on October 31st, 2014. That's during a domestic dispute. The prosecutor told the court that up to news time, the younger Jackson was still a patient at the medical institution, and she's very scared of being attacked again by Samuel, who used to share a common law relationship with her. When Samuel appeared in court on Monday, he was not allowed to plead to the indictable offense. January 15, 2015 is the date set for the preliminary inquiry. In other news, the play Remnants of Gideon will kick off 2014 Ministry of Culture and Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines National Theatre Arts Festival this weekend. The production is entitled Ugly, and the group promises the Vincentian public a remarkable performance. Speaking to SVG-TV News earlier today, Public Relations Officer of the theatre group Exalt Him Worship Ministries, Natasha Jeffrey, is encouraging persons to come out in their numbers and support the play at the Peace Memorial Hall.
The production that we're having this weekend is entitled Ugly, and behind all the saga and the baby mama drama, the infidelities and the adultery, we actually do have a message, and that message is that Jesus Christ exists and He is there to forgive us for our sins, and you will get that message coming out of our production. Expect something exciting, expect something new, something refreshing. I know some people think that because we may be a Christian group that it might be boring, but we Christians have fun as well. We have a good time, we have clean fun, and I just want to invite you all to come out and see our production this weekend. So it will be at the Peace Memorial Hall on Friday night, Saturday night, and on Sunday. So you have a choice. Whichever night you prefer, you can come and see us.
The play is written by Sherilyn Denny Edwards.